I have 12 detectives in here and 2 sergeants. This is where everybody sits. One of my sergeants in here working. Some detectives are off today. Some of them are working. Some of them are out on cases doing some things. We deal with everything within the schools. High schools, elementary schools, and middle schools. We handle custody disputes. We handle missings. And any crime that's committed within the schools or on a school bus is what we handle.
That all youth are bad, that because one youth makes a mistake, then they're all going to make that mistake, or that youth we need to throw away and not offer an opportunity for some type of reform. Are there going to be some that can't be reformed? Yes, that's just a part of life and what we're dealing with. But there are a lot of youth out there that have circumstances, that have situations, that are in situations that they can't help, and we have to understand what they're going through, or try to understand what they're going through, and try to be able to reach out and give them some resources to alter that path of the school to prison pipeline. What's the solution that I think will help to bridge this gap? I think it's going to take a collaborative effort from school, from the courts, from law enforcement. Everybody's sitting down and figuring out how can we address this problem, because it ultimately affects all of us. It affects law enforcement because it affects our crime. It affects the schools because it affects how kids are behaving within the schools. And it affects everyone overall because we see it nationwide every day. Things that are going on that are involving young people, whether it be young people are committing crimes, whether it be young people are being the victims of crimes, whether young people are having a very negative interaction with law enforcement nowadays. And those are things that are starting to affect us in a very serious way. Two things: empathy and compassion. You gotta have those. You have to have those. And we oftentimes have to leave our egos at the door. Are there gonna be students that act out? Yes, that's a part of it. That's gonna happen. You have to take the time to talk to that individual and explain what their options are at that time. Because we know, and I've stated it previously, kids go through things. So we have to, in your question, we have to know how to address the young people that we deal with on a day-to-day basis and realize that they're not all the same. And every young person's situation is going to be different. It's a little bit different if I come into that room and I sit down next to you and I ask you, okay, so tell me, how did we get to this point? What's going on? Because you're disrupting the class, so we're going to need to leave. We're going to go out, but I'm not going to condemn you for your actions. But I need you to talk to me so we can get to some sort of solution, so we don't come to this place right here where you're at again. So it has to be addressed on a compassionate and empathetic basis to try to reach those kids that are going through situations. What alternatives that I think should be implemented outside of out-of-school suspension? I think that every young person that's involved with the possibility of getting suspended, that should be looked at. And there should be programs within the schools that provide alternatives. Because once you suspend a kid out of school, then that's education that's being lost. And maybe that kid doesn't need to. I don't know any kid that needs to lose education. And sometimes they're dealing with some things that need to be addressed in that school. So once you suspend a kid, it's almost just like it's kicking that kid out and saying, hey, you know what? There's nothing else that we're going to do for you right now. You can come back on another day at another time and try to reform yourself. So why don't we set up something within the schools that helps to reform that kid that's in that school, but also at the same time helps that kid to maintain the education that he's trying to get. And last, to show that kid that there's someone there that cares about you. We're not just going to throw you away like a piece of trash. We recognize the fact that you've made a mistake, And we're going to try to address that mistake within the walls that we've brought you into.